Hey, what's up? It's Lloyd here, coming to you with a top cut commentary from the recent PUCL 3v3 tournament, which I won. And before I get into it, I want to give a shout out to the runner-up, Liger, who played an awesome final set. It was really a nail biter. And I also want to give a shout out to Wreck-It Mike, who was the only player to beat me in a set across the tournament. So without further ado, going from right to left, here is the team, and this is kind of in order of value, I suppose. So starting with Latios, this was probably my least brought Pokemon. Well, it certainly was, in fact, my least brought Pokemon. Even though this Pokemon has such a high rating for 3v3 in Smogon, I struggled to bring it to any of my sets. The reason that it's on the team is that it pairs really well with Scizor, and it does hit pretty much the entire meta for a truckload of damage. A choice specs Draco Meteor is gonna, half health pretty much any Scizor. Maybe not a max bulk specially defensive one, but it does a truckload of damage. It's really hard to switch into. And, it's got good natural bulk, and it's just an all-round really strong Pokemon. But unfortunately, on this team, it didn't get a lot of play. Next, we have Latios' best friend, Scizor. So yeah, these two, they make a really strong core. But, again, didn't really get a lot of light on my team in particular. The Choice Band, I'm really happy with the Choice Band. I think the Choice Band really played out quite well for me. So we have the staple attacks, U-turn and Bullet Punch there, and so you really need those two. The other attacks that you could run, so I've got Brick Break on mine. You could run Aerial Ace to get that Technician boost, and that would probably be a better all-round choice. But I did in fact end up having to fight a Rotom Wash and a Magnezone back to back with this Scizor, and we did actually manage to win one game spamming the Choice Band Brick Break against them, so the fighting coverage is actually quite nice. And yeah, so the Scizor put in a fair amount of work, and Choice Band really strong in my opinion. The Quick Attack as well, it does over half of Blaziken's health. It actually does around 65% of a Blaziken's health. So if you can get a Quick Attack off on a Blaziken that's just used Flare Blitz or just hit close combat, you can actually get some really surprising KOs with a Quick Attack on a Blaziken. Following that, we got Suicune. This thing's an absolute behemoth. So we've got the 252 defense, we've got the 252 HP, and on Smogon, I ramped up the EVs a little bit so that I was running 12 EVs so that you always get the outspeed in the mirror match. But anyway, this thing, it's kind of like a bit of a Breloom bait. If Breloom comes in and tries to put you to sleep, you just Ice Beam it, and there goes, 2/3 of its health. You're going to take it down pretty much to Sash if you've got a Calm Mind up. So yeah, really strong. It's really hard to break this thing in this meta. The only thing that really walls it is Rotom Wash, unless you can maybe get a Trick Scarf onto it or something, or get an unaware Clefable in against it, then Suicune does a phenomenal job in this meta. In my opinion, it's the strongest water type going around. Following that, we have this beast. Dragonite is a force to be reckoned with. With the Lumberry, you just Dragon Dance on pretty much whatever you want. You've got the multi-scale ability, so Dragon Dance it up. It was a tough choice whether to run Earthquake and E-Speed or to try to put Fire Punch onto my Dragonite set, because Scizor is so popular. Scizor is everywhere. Fire Punch is a great way of handling Scizor, but if you get a Dragon Dance up and then Earthquake it, you're probably going to just be 2-hit KOing it anyway, so Dragonite does fairly well against Scizor, unless the Scizor is banded. A banded Bullet Punch will pretty much 2-hit KO my Dragonite, but you know, it all depends on who gets in first. So just if you're crafty with your positioning, this thing is an absolute just monster to deal with. Blaziken. Blaziken is arguably the MVP of this team. I want to talk about Breloom last, but yeah, you could certainly make the case that Blaziken is the real MVP. I think it's up there. In this meta, Blaziken is amazing. So the U-turn, you can protect to scout out other choice items, or like to outspeed. You can protect to scout out, you know, whatever it is that you need to. And then a U-turn will deal about 80% of Latios's health. If you crit a U-turn on Latios, it will get KO'd. The Life Orb just boosts the damage to a really nice amount. You will put it into a Mach Punch range if you get the U-turn off on the Latios. And you know, Flare Blitz and Close Combat doesn't get much simpler than that. You just hit with stabs. A Close Combat Life Orb boosted can KO a non-bulky Rotom Wash. So really, if you get any chip on a Rotom Wash and you can outspeed and Close Combat it, then it's lights out for Rotom. Same can be said for the Mirror. You know, you're gonna one-shot opposing Blazikens, you're gonna one-shot Infernape, and yeah, it's a real beast. And then lastly, and probably most importantly, this little geezer, my Adamant Technician Breloom. So I've got a little bit of an interesting set here. I've got 68 defensive EVs, and that ensures that I'm always going to win the Breloom Mirror match, while still always doing over half health to a non-bulky Breloom. Yeah, then you know, you just go max speed. Swords Dance. So I don't like leading with my Breloom as much. This is my Sauropoke Breloom, where it basically comes in last and tries to sweep. And yeah, we really cleaned up in this tournament with this little guy. He absolutely just devastated, and it was very satisfying for me. Yeah, so that's the team. Let's get into some battles. So first round up, we had Farmer Fox with a Rain team, which was really cool. Didn't expect to see a Rain team in a 3v3 meta, but here it is. Now I remember thinking that Alakazam might very well be a Focus Sash Alakazam, and the Breloom could be a Toxic Orb Breloom. So I was kind of thinking, alright, I need to be ready for that, and I was thinking I would lead with my Breloom here, just because it's a pretty good, it's got a good matchup as a lead. If Pelipper comes out first, which I was anticipating, then I can put it to sleep and hopefully outspeed it and hopefully set up on it. So, you know, if I can get the Spore off and then get a Swords Dance, then I can hit the Kingdra for huge damage and potentially use my priority attacks in the back to win the game. Unfortunately though, that Pelipper is a fast one and it outspeeds my Breloom, and I Spore into his safe Breloom switch. So a very nice play from my opponent. He's in a really good position now. So I know that I have to just go for the back-to-back Mach Punch. He's Swords Dance, and I'm not sure if his Breloom is Jolly or not, but this turn right here is a really, really crucial turn. The entire outcome of this game hinges on who wins this speed tie. So Fox gets the speed tie there, unless he was Jolly. He might have been Jolly, I'm not really sure. But I see this as an opportunity to bring in Dragonite now. I know he's got Swords Dance, so he doesn't have Rock Tomb. But I know that this is going to be a tough battle for me to win now. This is going to be really tough. I'm going to need to really boost with Dragonite, because in the rain, Kingdra is going to outspeed me at +2. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm an adamant Dragonite. So even if he is modest, I'm not getting there. So I go for my first Dragon Dance now, and luckily Fox hits me with a Mac Punch. So I guess he thought I was going to just extreme speed in there. He might have been anticipating a choice band. So we get the Dragon Dance, and now he's on to me. He knows he's got a Spore. So I Dragon Dance for a second time, and he just goes for Spore here. So he gets my Lumberry, and now I basically have to deal with this Breloom. I can't go to sleep now. If I go to sleep, he can just go hard Pelipper and Ice Beam me, and I won't have had a turn of sleep yet. So I have to extreme speed here. So going for my extreme speed, I suppose, you know, yeah, extreme speed's the best play. So now I know that I don't outspeed Kingdra in the rain, and Pelipper is 100% coming back right now. I'm just hoping for some reason, any reason, that this Pelipper doesn't have Ice Beam and isn't Focus. I'm worried about Focus Sash too. So I know it could be Focus Sash. So yeah, I go for the extreme speed. Yeah, we extreme speed, and look at that. Pelipper is a defensive unit and Ice Beams me back, and I know I've pretty much lost the game at this point. So Scizor is probably going to die to a Hydro Pump in the rain. So maybe I can win if I dodge back-to-back Hydro Pump. So I go for my Quick Attack. I know there's no point going for a different move. I could have used Brick Break. The Pelipper would have Ice Beamed me, but if you see here, watch how much this Hydro Pump just absolutely decimates. Yeah, in the rain, you can forget about it. But anyway, so that was game one, and now I have some really good information. I know his Pelipper has, it's a max speed Pelipper. So armed with this new knowledge, hopefully we can get a little bit more value out of that. So back in, this time I decide, looking at his team again, well, there's pretty much no drawback to leading with Latios. Even if he leads with Scizor, we can still do a huge amount of damage to that. Magnezone 2 isn't necessarily a very especially defensively tanky Pokemon. It has a high physical defense, so I can fairly safely lead Latios. I'm expecting him to lead with Pelipper anyway, because the Pelipper is such a good lead, and I think he realistically needs to bring rain every time. He can't really rely on his other three Pokemon to deal with my team. So I'm pretty confident that he'll be bringing the rain again, which means a pretty likely Pelipper lead. So in actual fact, he goes Breloom this time. So I decide to just go for a Psychic here. Nothing on his team really wants to switch into Psychic. The rain users don't want to switch into Psychic, so we just go for that. He does Spore me. I'm just going to stay in with Latios and see what happens. I know he's got Swords Dance, so he can just go for a Swords Dance here and probably get the KO on Latios. So you just gotta hope for Latios to not get a one-turn sleep. That's the big risk, I suppose, when you go for a Swords Dance. So we'll see what my opponent does. They're probably debating right now whether or not they would want to go for that Swords Dance or not. They might be checking calcs, I'm not sure, but they seem to take their time a little bit with this one. Withdraw the Breloom, which is an interesting play. They go into their Pelipper here. And so they've just kind of got that Breloom in the back it's just on 1 HP, which can be very useful, especially on a rain team, just to have that extra pivot. So, fair play from them. And now we see the Choice Scarf reveal. So I knew that the Pelipper was faster than Breloom, easily enough. However, now Pelipper is outspeeding Latios, which it can only do with a Choice Scarf. So I'm just going to sack Latios here. Latios can go down, no worries. And this is where I decide to bring my Breloom back in. So I'm hoping to get Dragonite in to eventually clean up. So I can get my Breloom here. I think the play here is going to be to just Bullet Seed, right? We just want to Bullet Seed. His rain turns, he's going to want to save his rain turns to get into probably a better position with Kingdra, right? And so I go for Bullet Seed. He does make the switch, so it's really, really nice there that we can get our his extra pivot out of the way. And now I'm free to go ahead and Spore. I know that his Pelipper, at the very least, has a Choice Scarf, so I can Spore that. And the Kingdra, questionable. Will he have a Lumberry? Probably not. I think most of them like to go with Life Orb, if I'm not mistaken. I don't really know too much about Kingdra. I never really used it in BSS. But yeah, so I'm sort of debating, will he have a Lumberry? I do decide to just go for the Spore. And with the outspeed, that's really nice because he won't have had a turn of sleep yet. So when Kingdra comes back, I'm anticipating Kingdra to exit now. So I'm just going to fire off a Bullet Seed just to be on the safer side. Pelipper comes back in, we connect a Bullet Seed, and the game's pretty much won at this point. So even if we get a 2-turn Bullet Seed, I can go 2-turn Bullet Seed into Mach Punch into Extreme Speed, and then Dragonite will just outrage for the KO. But nice for us. Breloom isn't having any of that. Breloom isn't going to be relying on Dragonite in this game. Breloom goes for back-to-back Bullet Seeds here, picks up 4 on the Pelipper, and picks up another 4 right here on the sleeping Kingdra. Kingdra hasn't had a turn of sleep yet, so it ain't waking up. And yeah, so Mach Punch range easily from 3, but yeah, so we were always going to get that, even if we got the 2 with a wake up. We had Mach Punch into Extreme Speed and it would have been plenty of damage. So we got the GG in that one fairly clean. And so now we've got our last game. So I've noticed he's brought the same 3 every time. He's brought the same 3 Pokemon. I feel like he's thinking he's locked in to bringing Rain and Breloom because it just has the best matchup against my team. The Alakazam, it's getting wrecked by Dragonite, it's getting wrecked by Blaziken, it's getting wrecked by Breloom, it's getting wrecked by Sizzle. It's not coming. Magnezone, kind of the same thing. It's getting wrecked by Dragonite, it's getting wrecked by Blaziken, it's getting wrecked by Breloom. It's not gonna love a banded Brick Break from Scizor either. So I decide, alright, well, let's just lead with Suicune. Let's just bring out the big coon. If he leads with Pelipper this time, which, I feel like he most likely will, then Suicune's just gonna be setting up. Like, what's he gonna do? He's probably gonna U-turn out, and then we can either Ice Beam or we can kind of go for a Calm Mind into an Ice Beam as well. And that way, if he switches into like Breloom or Kingdra, then we are going to be in really good shape to deal with it. So we do get the Pelipper, and I think I just go for a Calm Mind. Yeah, why not? So we're up against, we'll see the U-turn out, and what will he bring out? He brings out Breloom, okay. And I'm just hoping, quietly confident he's going to Spore, right? He might not anticipate my Chesto Berry. So we go for the Ice Beam here. He does Spore, that's really good. And without a boost, because I'm physical defensive, max Fizz defense, those Bullet Seeds, they're not gonna be able to take me out realistically. Anyway, I just go hard Dragonite because my Suicune, well, it's going to be so useful in this match. I'm pretty confident right now that he's got the Kingdra in the back, right? He's got Pelipper, he's going to have Kingdra. So Breloom wastes the Spore onto my Dragonite. I can E-Speed, and that's lovely. We can get a really nice E-Speed off here. It's going to deal with the Breloom. But he's thinking about saving it. He's thinking, oh, I could go to Pelipper. Could go to Pelipper here. Pelipper might be my salvation. So I can't actually quite remember off the top of my head which one he goes for, but we'll find out in just a second. The Extreme Speed should deal, I don't know, maybe a quarter to Pelipper. Oh, he goes Kingdra, right? Yeah, okay. Now, he shouldn't be able to break my multi-scale at this point. So I can just, I'm not sure what I do here, to be honest. Oh, right, of course, I'm going to go back to Suicune. Yes, yeah, Suicune for the win. So we can go back into Suicune and tank pretty much whatever's coming our way. That's an Ice Beam. Even if he Draco Meteored, I don't know that an unboosted Draco Meteor is going to be getting the 2-hit KO. Seems like he might be Specs because he didn't take any Life Orb damage there, so I'm Ice Beaming, just anticipating a Breloom switch, and I can basically just Ice Beam my way down here. He might have Hurricane, which will be a threat. He does have a Hurricane, goes for the Hurricane, does some really good damage, and I'm confused too. So that's pretty nice for him. I get another Ice Beam off, and now we're getting pretty close to Extreme Speed range. Will he get the KO with this Hurricane? No, he will not. Will I hit myself in confusion? Nope. Suicune is standing strong. Standing very strong on all fours there. Gets another Ice Beam off. And now he's going to bring Breloom back in. Okay, so no reason to hang around now. We can sack Suicune. Suicune has done a phenomenal job there. Getting rid of the Pelipper. So Pelipper, big threat in this game. And he's put me to sleep. I guess he might be thinking about going for a last-ditch effort with the Sword stance. We'll see. No, it just goes for a Mach Punch. Okay. Probably didn't need to Spore there, but I guess, you know, you cover the switch that way. He no longer has Rain because the Pelipper has been KO'd. So we're going to see some issues with Kingdra now. We've got some speed issues there. And Kingdra also is going to really struggle to deal with my Suicune in the back. So did I just Extreme Speed? Oh, wow. Yeah, we go for the Extreme Speed there. And the Ice Beam doesn't break my multi-scale, so I can just Extreme Speed again. So GG's to Farmer Fox. That was the first round from Top Cut. So next up we had to face the Trevster. And Trev had a really interesting team. He's got a triple water team with the very interesting addition of Tangrowth as well. So I sort of thought Tangrowth, yeah, that's a little bit of an interesting choice just because this isn't 6v6. It doesn't really thrive in the 3v3 meta like it does in 6v6. It doesn't really get to make use of the regenerator ability in the same way. But it might prove to be a bit of a nuisance to Breloom, who has an amazing matchup against all of those water types. So in the first game, I actually decide to lead with Blaziken. Which you might think is a questionable decision because of the 3 water types. However, nothing on his team, like absolutely nothing on Trev's team, wants to get hit with a close combat. Blaziken's going to be doing some serious damage to pretty much everything except for maybe, well, a close combat. Tangrowth might not care so much about that, but everything else is going to be a little bit scared of it. So we get an amazing lead on the first turn. It's Blaziken in versus his Scizor, which is, you know, you couldn't ask for a better lead, but I managed to overthink it a little bit and go for the U-turn. So I just assume he's going to go into something else, something that can deal with a Flare Blitz, but I guess he doesn't have anything that wants to tank a Flare Blitz. So we get a fair bit of information out of that little play there. So we know he doesn't have Gastrodon this game, and he's probably got, in that case, his Tangrowth in the back, and maybe a Sash user. So if he does have Sash user, it looks like it's most likely going to be the Cloyster. The Cloyster doesn't seem like it's going to be filling any other type of role except for Shell Smash with the Sash. And we do see the Tangrowth come out. So now, I had been thinking about this particular matchup through the week, alright? And the Tangrowth doesn't actually have that good of a matchup in this scenario against my Suicune. Tangrowth is a physical defensive tank. It doesn't really have much in the way of a special defense stat. So I just start to calm mind on the Tangrowth, and I just want to sort of outscale it and, knock it out essentially. He does get a really nice crit on me there. It takes me down to 11 HP, but we just rest that up. We just rest that right up and pop our Chesto Berry, and we're still in pretty good shape. So this Suicune is going to prove to be a real problem. It's in a really good position to deal with Tangrowth and also to deal with the Scizor as well. So we can start firing off Ice Beams. He might anticipate an Ice Beam, but I don't want to waste any time. I don't want to waste time scalding into a Tangrowth when it's packing Giga Drain, so I just fire off the Ice Beam. He does make a good switch, and he does have the leftovers there coming in. So we need to see how specially defensive he is and how well he can handle these +1 Scalds. So we should outspeed if he's not a Glass Cannon Scizor, and even if he is a Glass Cannon Scizor, the Scalds are going to hit even harder. So we're still in a good matchup here, and he just Swords Danced. So that was a really brave Swords Dance. I'm not sure what he's anticipating his next play is going to be. So yeah, we just Scald there. The Swords Dance, yeah, I don't know what you're going to do. Follow it up with a Bullet Punch? Probably not. Anyway, Cloyster comes out now, and Cloyster is going to take this opportunity to Shell Smash, but with -2 on the special defense, a +1 Scald is going to hit hard. That nearly takes him down to Sash. So he gets a little bit of leftovers recovery. That's just sapping away, and I don't think he can take us out from this range. So with half health, he's got a +2 Rock Blast. We are full physically defensive Suicune. We are max defense here. So we go for another Scald. Cloyster cannot deal with the Scald damage, and so now he's only got his Tangrowth left. So we've got 3 Pokemon. They all beat Tangrowth, unfortunately, for the Trevster here. He will take down the Coon, but we've got Blaziken ready to go, and Dragonite too. So Blaziken is just going to come back out, finish the job. We're not going to reveal our third. The less information that we can reveal, the better. And also, why not finish with a super effective attack? So I think Trev just cancels that battle there, and we'll move on to the next battle. So now in this matchup, I feel like he might need to switch it up a little bit. He might bring Gastrodon this time. He saw how much of a threat that Blaziken was in the previous game, right? So we might be seeing some additional water type Pokemon in this game. So rather than bring Dragonite in the back, I decide that it could be a good idea to run Breloom this game. Just in case he decides to bring the Gastrodon along, and or the Feraligatr, right? So, you know, Breloom, you know, it's actually got a really good matchup against his entire team. You know, it does fine against Scizor. If you can get a +1 Mach Punch off on a Rotom Heat, then, you know, then that's really great. The only Pokemon that it's going to have heaps of trouble with is the Tangrowth there. You're really kind of stuffed against the physically defensive Tangrowth, and it can just Sludge Bomb you down to Sash. 30% chance to get poison, you know, 30% chance to one-hit KO your Breloom. So really, as long as Breloom can steer clear of the Tangrowth, then we should be all good. So, on the lead, this time Trev elects to send out his Cloyster. I've got Blaziken here, so we know it's Shell Smash. We can pretty well confidently go ahead and close combat, take him down to Sash. And I was at this point thinking as well, it's a shame I didn't bring my Dragonite, because with the speed boost, he might be anticipating a Protect after I close combat, which could be potentially quite humorous. So if I were to switch into Dragonite on the second Shell Smash, I could just extreme speed, that would be quite funny. But we also have another option that we can go. So he's going to potentially assume that I'm going to run Protect on the next turn, right? So I could just U-turn out on him, or I could even close combat again. Or, you know, I could Flare Blitz if I prefer. You know, Flare Blitz in this case would be more sensible than the close combat because you're only taking 1 HP of recoil. But I just decided to go for the U-turn. I've already taken a close combat stat drop, so we can just U-turn out and clear those. And he does in fact go for the second Shell Smash. And I suppose if he had have KO'd me with an Icicle Spear, then Suicune's still... You saw in the last game how bothered Suicune was by the +2 Rock Blast. It didn't take it below 50%, so you know, we always had that as a backup too. Alright, now Feraligatr reveals and goes for a Dragon Dance. We're going to Calm Mind. We want that extra damage. You know, we want to be dealing over a quarter if we can, and hopefully getting a burn. We ideally want to put this Feraligatr into Mach Punch range. If we can put it into Mach Punch range, we'll be in very good shape. That way I'll have my Focus Sash still intact for whatever is in the back. So he goes for a second Dragon Dance. I think that's the correct play. He may have been looking at calcs there, trying to work out if he can two-shot me. And that does seem like the correct play. So I believe he crunches here. Goes for the crunch, doesn't get the defense drop, but does get a nice roll. I'm not sure what type of roll that is, but it's bloody nice. That's Feraligatr does do absurd damage. Like, that is crazy damage. Anyway, so we've got Breloom here now, and I'm just anticipating an ice move. I think they run Ice Punch. Feraligatr gets ice. Feraligatr has always had Ice Punch, doesn't it? And yeah, so he goes for the Ice Punch. We just need to dodge the freeze, potential 10% chance for a freeze, but he doesn't get it. We just Bullet Seed. And takes 2 from that range to deal with Feraligatr. Feraligatr has good defense stat, physically defensive. It's surprisingly tanky on the physical side. We see the Tangrowth, Mach Punch for the valuable chip damage there. We do in fact need the chip damage to clear that much with a Life Orb boosted Jolly Flare Blitz. So that was a crucial Mach Punch from our Breloom, and now we should be in range to finish the game with a Flare Blitz here. I'm not sure if Trev had Earthquake on his Tangrowth or not. He did have Leech Seed, Giga Drain, and you'd have to assume Sludge Bomb for the for the anti-Breloom tech. But alas, we never found out. So that was my round against the Trevster. GG's Trev. Now on to the next. So in this round I'm up against Blitzscore Gamer, or Pro Shuriken, and he's got a pretty interesting team. In the week leading up to this battle, I'd been doing some practice games against Grail Mercenary, and we identified some potential problems with the matchup. So I was scared of the Scizor having a choice band, and because the reason why is it makes Dragonite have a tough time sweeping. If without the choice band, I can kind of just get a Dragon Dance up and 2-hit KO the Scizor with Outrage without having to worry about Bullet Punches KOing the Dragonite back. And a Choice Scarf Breloom is just harder for a Choice Scarf Rotom Wash is harder for Breloom to deal with. Anyway, so we get the Rotom Wash lead against a Blaziken, and I see that he's gone for a Hydro Pump turn 1, which makes me a little bit nervous that he might be running a Choice Scarf. So I'm not gonna hang around to risk it. I don't want to lose my Blaziken, so I'm just going to hard switch into Scizor. So we get pretty lucky on this turn. The Scizor gracefully takes a step to the left and dodges the Hydro Pump, which is a really nice advantage for me. I'm not sure that it mattered in the end, but really nice nonetheless. So we go for a U-turn. Obviously it's my best way to damage the Rotom Wash, and could potentially, well, it will definitely put a Rotom Wash into close combat range. So we just go straight back out to Blaziken. I see leftovers, and now I know I'm in an amazing position. The leftovers means that I can bring Dragonite to all the games and have a really pretty cruisy time. So Dragonite with the non-bulky Rotom and the leftovers Scizor should be able to just tear through my opponent's team. So I know that I can bring Dragonite to every game and it's got a very good chance of sweeping. So now I'm just going to protect so that I can outspeed this Rotom on the next turn. And I can close combat the Rotom for the win. Well, for the KO. So outspeeding Rotom now, close combat, very easy. And I believe it's at this point that Pro Shuriken brings out his Weavile. So we got the Weavile coming out next, and I'm a little bit apprehensive about whether or not the Weavile wants to go for a fake out. I think a fake out into an Ice Shard probably would get the KO, especially if he's Life Orb and my defensive stat has been lowered because I just close combated. Alright, so we just go hard Scizor, and we see him go for an Ice Shard. Could potentially mean that Weavile right there is a Choice Band Weavile. That seemed like a pretty fat Ice Shard, and he didn't want to stick around either. So, but Weavile's not exactly going to want to stick around and fight a Scizor, no less a Choice Band Scizor. So we just go back to Blaziken, and Pro Shuriken is having trouble keeping up now. We've just got him on the run. I can Flare Blitz here, he's got no switch in, I know he's just got the Weavile in the back, and so it's going to be no problem. Finish off the Scizor with a Flare Blitz there, and now he's just going to bring the Weavile back out. We have no reason to switch now, we can just go ahead and close combat. I think that the Weavile might have been Choice Band, because he doesn't go for the Ice Shard here. he just he clicked something else. We were obviously speed boosted, so we were outspeeding. We just close combat for the win. No sash either. So GG for round 1 to Pro Shuriken there. So I might just skip ahead a little bit, skip it into the next one. So here we are, on to the next round 2 against PUCL Gamer or Pro Shuriken. And I see no reason to not lead Blaziken again. And I'm 100% bringing Dragonite to this game. I can't quite remember if I decide to swap the Scizor over for Breloom though. I definitely go, oh yeah, so we just bring the same team again. And yeah, now that I know that his Rotom Wash and Scizor have the items that they do, I know that Dragonite is going to be very difficult to stop. The only thing that's really going to stop it, I suppose, would be the Weavile. But having said that, you know, Extreme Speed is going to outspeed the Ice Shard anyway, and if I can get a +1 Extreme Speed onto the Weavile, then it's going to be taking a huge hit. So we see the Latios come out now, and Latios just surfed. Latios just used the surf, clicked the surf button. So I U-turn out on him for huge damage, and I'm just thinking, alright, this is my opportunity to set up a Dragonite. Let's get the Dragonite in. So Dragonite's not going to want to, Dragonite's not going to worry about a surf. I think I might have hesitated for a second there and considered going into Scizor, but you know, this is a great opportunity for Dragonite to set up, and we know how much havoc that Dragonite can potentially do against this team. So we see the Breloom come out. I assume I just extreme speed here. Yep, we go for an extreme speed. It's going to be an easy 2-hit KO. I'm hoping, obviously, for a Spore. Rock Tomb would be a better play because I've got a Lumberry, but he does go for the Spore, and we can just extreme speed. We're not going to have to worry about taking any extra damage whatsoever. We can fairly safely assume that he's not going to have Weavile, seeing as, well, I mean, actually, I suppose you could maybe make the assumption. Doesn't really. Yeah. We see the Flaming Monk come out there, gets a Mach Punch off. We can Earthquake that, no problem. And I'm just kind of assuming that it's the specs. Well, you know, he didn't outspeed the Blaziken, so yeah, we can pretty safely assume specs. Go for the extreme speed for the cleanup there. So that was my game against Pro Shuriken or PUCL Gamer. GG's on that round. So here is the final game against my fellow Oz himself, Liger. And I'd been thinking about this matchup for the last few days and how I was going to play it out. Earlier on in the day, I was pretty much sold on going Scizor and Breloom and Dragonite, but I think right before the game started I kind of chickened out and decided to go for the safest option of Blaziken, Suicune and Breloom. I was thinking of leading Scizor purely because I didn't think he would want to lead with his Rotom Heat, and even if he did, he'd be locked. He'd have to overheat, and yeah, he'd have to overheat to kill the Scizor, and then I could bring in Dragonite to potentially set up and just run through his entire team, which seemed like a pretty appealing idea. Anyway, so we get Latios on the lead, and I know that Liger has read my post on Smogon. So I was a little bit apprehensive about U-turning on him here, but I just thought it's not very likely that he's going to be a Choice Scarf, but he was Choice Scarf, and so he takes me down to within my own life orb recoil there. And yeah, that's not the best start. But at least we know now that his Latios has a choice scarf. That's some pretty valuable information. We know that it's not going to be as threatening to Suicune as a Specs Latios would be. Now I just want to go in with my Breloom here. I was thinking about coming in and setting up with my Suicune, so I could just come in and start spamming Calm Mind, but I don't really want him to have a 3-2 Pokemon advantage, because if it goes to a Suicune versus Suicune Timer Stall type of scenario, then let's be honest, it's just going to put me in a really bad situation. So I just go for the Mach Punch, and he switches out his own Breloom. It cops a Mach Punch, so I know that I can beat this Breloom with my own, and yeah, that's the advantage of having the extra defensive EVs there. So I probably could have won the game from this point, if I'm being honest. I knew that Liger had been collaborating with Grail Mercenary, and I know that Grail is an advocate of the Lumberry on the Scizor, so I was a bit apprehensive. I didn't go for the Spore, I just decided to go to my Suicune instead. Suicune will have a nice matchup versus the Scizor, but he U-turns, and so that U-turn made me think even more that it's likely that he has the Lumberry, right? Otherwise, why would he U-turn? You know, if he's U-turning, he's thinking, okay, well, my Lumberry will activate, then I can U-turn out and, you know, drop a Draco on whatever is coming next. Anyway, he knows my last 2 Pokemon now, and yeah, you know, having the Latios in versus Suicune's ideal, because it's going to go down to the Mach Punch. Anyway, I just decided to go back to Breloom. I'm thinking, you know, if he Draco Meteors here, I can just set up. But he goes for a Thunderbolt, so I have to Mach Punch this out now. This lights out for you, Latios. Now, this is the part of the battle where I'm gonna speed things up, because this dragged on for like 7 or 8 minutes from this point. Yeah, 8 minutes I think. So I'm still a bit wary of his Lumberry, but I feel at this point it might be more valuable to pop that Lumberry, because we want to be fishing for a Scald anyway. So I just go for the Spore, anticipating, well, just, yeah, I probably should have Mach Punched. Anyway, I'm going to speed this up a little bit, so let's do that, because this standoff goes for ages. So you can see there that I got a crit on the Scizor, and it did barely anything. And now we get the leftovers. So I know that his Scizor has leftovers now, which is awesome information for me. You know, leftovers Scizor is more vulnerable to my team than a Choice Banded Scizor is, or a Lumberry Scizor. So, you know, at least I know that in the follow-up games, I can put this Scizor to sleep, and it won't be too much of an issue. So at this point, I'm really just fishing for a Skull Burn. I just really want to get my Skull Burn, and, you know, it might be one thing that Breloom has a better matchup against the Scizor, but the Suicune does not. Suicune is having trouble keeping up right now. The Scizor can just Swords Dance and Roost until its heart's content, whereas I have to deal with 2 turns of sleep every time I try to rest off with recovery. So we're in a little bit of a stalemate, but the Scizor is just inching further and further away. I do need to try and get a Calm Mind off at some point, but I probably leave it a little bit late. I wish I had Calm Minded. Probably on that turn there would have been a good spot, because he's just going to keep boosting and roosting, and even if I do Calm Mind, you saw how little damage that crit did, right? These skulls are barely doing a quarter, especially with those leftovers kicking in as well. The burn is nice, but yeah, we are struggling. So I've got to pick my moment to rest. I'm going to speed this up a little more because we're still a long way off the finish of this. So I finally go for my Calm Mind. I'm going to start boosting up my skull damage, and at some point soon I'm going to need to take a rest though. So I fire off another Scald here. I'm still feeling confident that he cannot get me with that range, with a U-turn into a bullet punch. But yeah, he's nearly at his maximum attack, and he can just boost and roost the whole time that I'm asleep and get himself to his max attack. Even though he's burned, those U-turns are going to be doing some serious damage. There you go, there's a solid third, and you know, realistically, Suiko is not going to be able to keep up once he's got that all sorted. So I need to just rest again from here. Got me on the ropes. So wake up, immediately rest, and now he can deal another nice chunk with that U-turn straight after. So I haven't had my 2 turns of sleep yet, and now he can pretty much just clean up. He can just clean the game from here. He can, yep, so there's my first turn of sleep. Hits me with a nice max U-turn, and yeah, nothing I can do really. The game is won, so GG's in the first round to my fellow Oz Liger there. So let's just slow this down now a bit. So I think from that point I decide that, so I don't want to lead with Blaziken again this time. So I'm going to go for the sneaky strat of my initial idea, I think, is what I wanted to do from this point. So we can run the Scizor with Breloom and Dragonite. I'm taking my sweet time to pick my team. I know I've only got my one team. Anyway, so yep, going with the Scizor first, going with my priority boys, going with a straight priority line here, and yeah, we'll see how this one goes. So we go in, we've got Scizor on the lead this time, and maybe I'll just slow this down to 2 point. That's good. All right, and we'll see what Liger decides to lead with. So he comes out with his own Breloom, and I'm feeling relatively okay about this. So I feel like I want to just go for a bullet punch. I want to break his sash. That's the main thing. I want to get his sash broken. Breloom's not as much of a threat unless it's got its sash intact. So like that could be in Mach Punch range. I'm just going to stay in. I don't really mind if this Breloom KOs my Scizor. Like I'm fine with that, honestly. So I just keep going for banded bullet punches, because the reason is I can just bring my Dragonite in and start setting up on Breloom, and once Dragonite's set up, he doesn't know that I've got Lumberry yet. So that's good for me. Here's a bit of a threat. So I just want to bullet punch, hoping he bullet punches me. He does. It's a relief. I didn't want him to boost there. He probably doesn't really want to boost either, especially with the potential of, I guess, Blaziken in the back. So I know I can Spore him now. Hooray! That's a huge difference to my to the way I'm going to play this now. So I can Swords Dance and potentially deal huge damage. He's going to go into his Gale Force now. I can't really do much about that, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm just going to Mach Punch though. Should do about half of his health. Yeah, about half of his health. and he's now locked into Psychic. So I'm in pretty good shape, believe it or not, because he bullet punched with his scissor as I spored, right? And so his scissor hasn't had a turn of sleep yet, and I can boost. I can boost now. I can just Dragon Dance. It's really nice. I suppose I could have. What I probably should have done here is go for another Dragon Dance to really seal the deal. But I was checking the calcs. I did check the calc at this point to see how much damage a +1 extreme speed would do to a glass cannon Latios, and it's in range. It's pretty comfortably in range. It's like just in range, you know. I think its minimum was 58%, and you know that's 58%, and you know 58% minimum roll. Like max roll is 65%, and that's, you know, significantly below. So, you know, you could argue that I should have gone for a second Dragon Dance there, but we get a pretty clean game in game 2. So I was fairly happy with that. And so he didn't actually see my what did we I don't know. Did he see my Breloom in that game? So what did we do? We led Scizor. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Oh well. Yeah, he saw my entire team. Anyway, I think I just want to go with the same team again. So, pretty happy with that line. Oh no, that's right. Sorry. Lead with the Suicune. Lead with the Coon. So it's more or less the same. I'm just leading with Suicune. I know Suicune has a good matchup against pretty much his entire team. Yeah, so lead Suicune. Unfortunately, I didn't want to see this guy. I didn't want to see Rotom in the lead. It could have, could have a trick. It could trick a Scarf to me. That's not going to be great. Anyway, just fire up a Scold, see what we can get. It's a bulky Rotom. Of course, it's not going to be, Scarf Rotom because he's got the Scarf on his Latios. So I'm just thinking, well, you know, we'll just let Suicune go down, and if we can get a setup opportunity on Dragonite, that's going to be really good. Dragonite's going to be pretty difficult for him to stop. But what I didn't think about until pretty much now, was the fact that a Choice Scarf Latios is going to be able to outspeed a +2 Dragonite, and that got me worried. Yeah. So at this point, I'm worried about the timer, and I'm thinking, oh, hang on a sec. Oh, he's just nasty plotted. He's going to be able to do big damage to me. Can I just extreme speed? I'm at +2. Can I? I don't know what this Rotom's EVs are. You know, if he's got Latios in the back, I can't lock into Outrage because the Latios is just going to come in and use like Draco Meteor. So I extreme speed and I don't get the range. Huge Thunderbolt puts me down to 4 HP, and I won't lie, I was mad at myself at this point. I was like, you know, Lloyd, you have thrown the tournament. Like what? Anyway, we try to stay focused here. Extreme speed him, and he just bullet punches. So now it is Breloom against the world. We've got a Breloom against an almost full health Scizor and an unknown Pokemon in the back. If he's got Breloom, it's game over, basically. We can't beat Liger if he's got Breloom in the back. Anyway, so we obviously go for Spore here, and he bullet punches, which is a blessing in disguise. Now, you might not be able to tell because it's sped up, but Liger was taking his time thinking about the bullet punch, which made me think he might not be in a real good situation. So I got the Spore, and this is where I make the game-winning play. I Spore again, right? I Spore into his sleeping Scizor and get the Water Horse. We put the Suicune to sleep, pop its Chesto as well. I knew that it was going to be the set as well, or I had a good suspicion after I saw the conversation between Liger and Mike. So I was like, okay, well, you know, if they're calm mind boosting, that means they're resting. So it's got to be a rest Suicune. So very likely Chesto. All right, so we spore into that, but it's fine because the Scizor actually hasn't had a turn of sleep yet because it bullet punched me. It hasn't had its one guaranteed turn of sleep. So there it goes. We Swords Dance, and we will out priority hit the Scizor. So it doesn't really matter that we wasted the Spore turn there. Now I was checking the calc as well. I was checking to see, I could have Swords Danced again here maybe, but it would have been a little bit risky with the priority bullet punches. So we just go for another Mach Punch. I was checking to see if 2 Bullet Seeds would knock out his Suicune or not, and there's a chance if you're max attack, which I'm not. I've actually got 68 defensive EVs on my Breland to win the mirror match. Anyway, so a few things could happen here. I was hoping that he didn't have Sleep Talk for one. I really wanted him to be asleep. Even if he does have Sleep Talk, the chances of him getting the Ice Beam are pretty low still. So we go for the Bullet Seed, hoping we can get 3. Can we get 3 without him waking up? I only get 2, but he doesn't wake up, and now I know I've won, and yeah, that feeling sunk in, and it was a really well fought game from Liger. And yeah, a very enjoyable tournament. So thanks for everyone that participated. GG's, and I'll see you around.